based on the town administrator's capital plan memo, is number 2, reduction of operating costs. Efficiencies on energy systems. So Wayne is working with the town to be sure that we have some projects that would be considered on that. So I guess part of it is that this memo on the new rules on the capital plan just came out on July 27th, after our July 21st school committee meeting, and I had sent a memo to the town administrator recommending, listing out what you had voted on the 21st, and now I'm thinking that with new capital improvement priority rules, we may want to rethink some of that.
I agree. It's, we've got 3 categories meshing together here. We've got the capital improvements to the education, which are the labs, the science labs that we're sorely lacking. And then certainly, in fairness to the taxpayers, we should be taking advantage of every efficiency. So, and then we have the need to just maintain the buildings so that they don't cost these enormous replacement. And to juggle which one we should do in the midst of limited resources.
Let me bring up an example. When the hood was rebuilt, probably 10 years ago now, the electricity shot up. So we've been looking, we put a meter on it, what happened at the Hood School if the electricity spiked? I think we finally determined the reason, after this, we had this energy audit done. There's 2 motors up there that circulate, it's a glycol system throughout the whole school, and it's 30 horsepower pumps. What does that mean? The middle school has 2 7.5 horsepower pumps. And those are constant, what they call a constant drive, they're always at the same RPMs. The batch, which is our highest tech school, does consume a fair amount of electricity because of the size of it. They're variable speed, so they speed up and slow down, they speed up and slow down depending on the load. If it goes up, the load goes up, the speed goes up, the load goes down, the speed goes down. I had a consultant come in to look at the hood pump. So if we, and the payback is like less than a year to install variable frequency drives on the pumps up there. So what that means, they'll be running the same as the batch will be running. So it'll be the same horsepower, but they'll be speeding up and slowing down, so hopefully to save a rough estimate of 20,000 kilowatts a year. That's pretty substantial.
Translate into dollars.
Well, 12 cents a kilowatt, something like that. Several thousand.
Well, those are the kind of things we need to hear.
That's one example of, this company did a townwide townwide audit of all our buildings. And there's a report out, and we're meeting on the 26th again. I sit on the committee there. Anything that is a payback of 5 years or less, we're gonna put together.
Awesome.
And
I'm glad it's a townwide report, and I'm glad
It is.
you're on that committee.
And those pumps could then not come on bang, bang either.
they modular.
Be slower to come up and down, so to save on.
I think to
Wear and tear.
move this along, that we should vote to include the roof
Yeah.
in addition to what we have.
They work there.
And we'll talk to the team on
Right.
Thursday.
And so just to recap that, it's, the C wing is 70,000. The gym section is another, I think 17,000. And the B wing is 5,000. So I had used an estimate of 100,000.
And the middle school's 25.
And the middle
So that should be 125,000.
Yeah, I was, 100,000 was for the high school.
And 25,000 for the middle school.
My recommendation then would be to add to our capital, because we've requested in my memo, based on your vote on the 21st, to submit
Right.
these items.
We haven't voted.
You've already submitted 4. They'll be on the capital budget, but they're not the ones that will necessarily be selected by this priority. And the priority rating has now been established. It's different from what we've been operating on in the past. So I would recommend that we add
I agree.
to the capital budget 100 and,
25,000.
I'd actually go a little bit higher.
150,000.
I'd go 150
Because we
to
can
complete
cover that.
any repairs. And if it turns out that there's discussion about modifying that as we did with the security plan over 1 year, and then, second year, we certainly
reasonable.
would be open, because this is C wing, gym, and B wing. The report takes it in various sections.
Okay, let's have a motion to that effect.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we request $150,000 for a capital item to repair roofs at the high school and middle school, and recommend that, request that on the October town warrant.
Okay, to be clear, to be added to the capital.
To be added to the
plan,
capital plan.
Not an independent.
Right, to be
warrant.
added to the capital plan we've already approved.
Got a second?
Who did that?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you very
He's
much,
got one
Wayne.
other thing after. He's got this
And just,
grant.
talk about this grant, because I think
Yes.
this got in.
Well, on a plus side, this is not gonna cost us anything, which is kinda good. Every year, our insurance company, MIA, Mass Interlocal Insurance, they wanna know if we wanna put a grant together to request monies for up to $5,000 a year for items that basically would cut any possibility of insurance having to pay for something, like a roof failure or something, or who knows what. So I put something together. I'm looking for a thermal imaging scanner. I mean, why I want one of these is that one of the gentlemen that sits on the energy committee works for this company, and he did some thermal imaging of some of the town buildings, and it's pretty explanatory. When you look at the imaging as far as any losses, the point is they're really trying to save some money, or avoid any problems, who knows, a flood, fire, whatever. So, if you put this thermal imaging camera on something that's really getting hot, but you really can't see it, it'll pick it up. Or you have a leak someplace. Or say around some of the inefficient windows we had, if it was a real cold winter day and you put them on, they'd probably glow orange, or you could see leaks around doors and things like that. But it's kind of a multi-use item that I've been looking at for quite a while, and I put the grant together, and I got a letter today, they're gonna allow us up to $5,000. We haven't bought it yet, but it looks like it's, and hopefully I'll share it with the town too. But the beauty of this is one of the gentlemen I say on the committee, he's willing to train us on it. He's a town employee, he works for Fleur, and he sits on the energy committee. He's a town resident. I think it's a good partnership, so
Awesome.
it was quite a milestone for us.
Will that take you $5,000?
I think so, yes. Questions, comments?
Just thank you for the initiative, and to the gentleman from the community that,
His name is Danny McGinnis.
thank you, Danny.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay. Any special order now, anybody?
No.
No more company? Okay, let's try starting from the beginning. School projects.
How about public input?
Oh, we never did do public input. Is there anybody in public? Phone in. Okay. School projects, brief updates on the status of the high school field and track. Well, as anyone who drives by the center of town has noticed, there's a major construction site out on the high school football and track field, which actually is not limited to just football. It is the football, lacrosse, soccer complex. Track complex. Track and field. And if you caught it in the transcript, we had a groundbreaking, and lots of people came out in support of that effort. As far as we know, the project is on schedule with plans to play the Thanksgiving Day game, which is a home game, here on our brand new turf field. And I believe it's also an anniversary.
50th anniversary.
50th anniversary. Chuck Carucci's gonna put on the uniform and join the team. And so I fielded some questions from people in the community. I wondered if anyone else had any concerns.
I've had questions asked, and the usual, people asking, well, where do we get the money and why are we spending it on that? And pretty much I told them why and where and how exciting it was and how enthusiastic we were and what the need was too. I think we really had a need for that. And you know, it's certainly a small consolation to a new high school, but I think it's just gonna enhance the athletic program tremendously, I really do. But the same questions that we normally get,
Yeah.
and a lot of people they don't understand the Hillview enterprise and how it works, and quite frankly, most people I wouldn't expect to understand it.
Right.
But it goes all the way back to 1988 too, I mean, when we established the Hillview enterprise, the Hillview Commission, so it's just been such a positive thing for the town. You know, we're going down with my daughter to Ipswich River Park to do some things down there, and every time I get down there now, it's unbelievable what they've done down there. The basketball courts, the roller rink, the
Yes.
skateboard rink, the soccer fields, it's just,
And it
really,
continues
it's
to
an
expand,
absolute
you know.
treasure for the town, it really is, it's unbelievable.
And have you also purchased the Wheeler property, which is now the new recreation center?
They built a new tennis courts, I mean,
And-
we couldn't use our tennis courts, and now we have tennis courts that they're playing the Cape Ann League
Right.
Championships here on, so they've done a tremendous job. the Hillview
And all of
Commission.
that instead of 180 unit subdivision.
Right,
Right.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
a very good
And,
point.
and I gotta give a world of credit to Rita Mullen. I mean, God bless her, she took the bull by the horns and she wrestled us to the ground. And, we went along for the ride, and I think I just think it's gonna be an extremely positive thing for the high school
Absolutely.
and for the town.
And just to remind people that the schools did not fund that out of their school budget.
No.
It didn't come out of the taxpayers' revenues, that is funded by the Hillview revenue. And I did have a question yesterday from someone who asked, why didn't the Hillview give the money to the town for budgets? And again, it's restricted. Those profits have to go back into open space and recreation.
And it would be a one-time fix anyway, if you did that. They can't do it every year.
Absolutely. There is some easing on our maintenance costs, a small amount, but, you know, we're not repairing that field every year, and we're not maintaining the lawn and watering it, because it'll be dry. And it'll be beautiful. And yes, the press box will be replaced, and fortunately, we will have seating, stands,
Yes.
because the bid came in low enough.
Hopefully lights.
Right,
And
there's-
hopefully lights.
Right.
And the signs that are currently there honoring Kennedy Field?
Kennedy Field.
And the one that was sponsored by the graduation class a couple of years ago, they are staying. Mr. Kennedy's Field sign might even get a touch-up so you can see it better. So, you know, anyone who's really held fast to, you know, tradition of past, they've replaced it, they are not gone, they're not being wiped out.
I also wanted to just point out, there was, those visitor stands that were there, they were in the way, and we didn't want them to they were just gonna destroy them.
Mm.
And I understand several of the youth sports groups and other residents came down over this weekend, disassembled the grandstands, and I think they're storing them down at the town garage, so we can keep those for
Good.
future use.
Excellent.
And, because we didn't want those destroyed, because yes, they're not that old, and they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So that happened over this weekend, and if you notice, those are gone now.
Right.
And they can just proceed with the.
It's gonna be a great
project.
complex, because the baseball field looks better than it ever has,
Yeah.
and it looks tremendous, and they've done a lot of work to that, again, through private donation, not
And the
through.
bachelor property looks very
Right.
nice,
Yeah.
so it's a nice
The whole time,
improvement
we
in
went
our
almost,
center.
9 months without a construction project in the
Right.
center of town, but this will be
Almost,
over
the
quickly.
police station, right. Okay, so that's done. We should move on to the middle school handbook. David, are you gonna present that?
I suggested that Mr. Frichet not come tonight, because I think it was very clear. But I will say that Mr. Frichet, the middle school principal, working with the school psychologist, Celia Weiss, and Kathy Carmody, has spent a tremendous amount of time restructuring and reformatting the middle school
I like
handbook,
it.
so that it's
Yeah.
easy to read, students and parents. It's also gonna be printed in the larger form, 3-hole punch, so it can go right into the binders, for the students will have, you know, a copy as well.
Very nice.
It's
Love the
very
order.
friendly too,
Very
the way,
student.
the way it's titled, getting started instead of, you know, how to begin your day. It's just more student and parent friendly. I did find several misspellings and typos, however, so.
Okay, do you wanna just submit your copy to?
Oh, I can do that, I
David?
guess.
Sure, that would
And
be
he'll
helpful.
incorporate that, we don't have to go through
Right.
them. Okay. So-
And there is, you'll note that there's a place for the vice principal's name, and
Yes.
it is going to be Patrick Daly, will be our new middle school assistant principal. I met Mr. Daly today, It's included in my administrative report, but.
You met him
have-
before you hired him, right?
I met him before we hired him. Yes, and he toured, we went to the high school, we went to the bachelor, the